We forget that every single thing in nature exists for a certain role. When nutrition and wellness comes from that space of acceptance, you extend that acceptance to yourself, to others, to everything around you. Yeah.
When you were young, you were into fitness and tennis. Now that you've experienced it in your own body and on your own mind and life, you're also teaching it as a way of giving back.
Right.
Right?
I wanted to study how the body truly works at a very, very deep level. You know, when we talk about health, we're also talking about our emotional well-being, right?
Yeah.
Science is also showing us that longevity, honestly, your social connections, they don't have to be a million, but they have to be few, and sacred.
I'm here with Kajal Gupta Mahajan, who is an OG functional wellness expert and an OG functional nutritionist. She started looking at this when people were not even talking or thinking about it 15 years ago. Now it's a trend, it's a fad, but it's actually her way of life and what she believes in. She's healed herself using this, and I'd love to chat more about this with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I feel so validated.
It's not only you, you've actually shared so many tips with me as well. And I'd love to know about how you started thinking about this 15 years ago when people were only trying to cure symptoms.
Right. So, I was someone who was always quite a geek at school, but I was also really into sports. So I played All India tennis. I swam for my school, and I had a very big sportsman spirit in me. Driven with a sense of discipline, with a sense of, competition, but also with a sense of camaraderie that comes in with sportsmanship. And I learned a lot from my coaches. I felt like their positive mindset is something that was so, it was so enriching, I felt, to absorb as a child. And from a very young age, I was very clear that I want to work with physiology, the human physiology, the way that our bodies work. They allow us to do so much in our lives, and I was always very interested in that. So at the time, this is like 2003, when I was considering what I want to specialize in. So I'm quite an experimenter, and I'm quite sort of, kar lete hain, dekhi jayegi type of person. So I wanted to go into medicine. I wanted to study how the body truly works at a very, very deep level. And I had a feeling that I may go into medicine and decide it's not really for me, because it's on the illness side of things, right?
Right.
You are prescribing medicine.
Sure. Yeah.
But I wanted to experience it, and I wanted to really, really, immerse myself in the academics of the human body. And so I went into medicine at the age of 17 and moved away from home and stuff like that. And you can imagine the kind of stress, a lot of us have done that. But I really moved to a very small town down south. And it was quite a shock to my system, and it took a lot of inner strength to kind of stick with it. But after 3 years, what I realized was that while I really love studying about the human body, and I love all the academics that come with being a medical doctor, there were some things that I didn't see myself doing. And one of them was prescribing medicines. So I decided to shift gears, to move onto the side of wellness. As I mentioned, I was always someone that played a lot of sports. So I decided to study sports science, study nutrition, and health psychology. And I was lucky enough, God was kind, my parents were very supportive, and my ecosystem was really sort of, all there for me. And I moved to London. I did my undergrad in these subjects. And then after finishing that up, I went ahead and did my master's in clinical and public health nutrition. I was 24 when I moved back away from, home for 7 years, having experienced life all across, really, like from a small town in Maharashtra to, the suburban London to, central London. And I worked with a couple of companies as time went by, like the YMCA in the UK, and I saw how their children's programs work, to do with childhood obesity. That was an area of a lot of interest for me. And, and then I just kind of started. I mean, I came back, the story. We were friends by then. So I started a spa as a way into wellness, and very quickly decided that I want to focus on nutrition. And I worked with certain hospitals and learned how clinical nutrition works in India, and decided that I want to stay very away from that, and stick to one-on-one practice, and help people through their wellness journeys, and really sort of mystify all the jargon that comes with it.
Right.
Make it fun, make it practical, make it sustainable. Why the hell not? It's your life. You get to design it the way you want to.
Absolutely.
Have complete autonomy, complete freedom, and really, power. You come from a space of power when you decide to make a change in your life. It's really empowering, and we need to embody that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what the inspiration was. And I think it was a really good way to have come to it, I think.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And you mentioned that you learned a lot from your coaches when you were young. You were into fitness and tennis and just learning about medicine.
Correct.
And it sounds like you've had that own experience, and now that you've experienced it in your own body and on your own mind and life, you're also teaching it as a way of giving back.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think I think I was very clear from a very young age that I want to be somebody who makes her life's mission to guide people. I don't know why. I don't know how it came in my mind as a young kid, but I think I find it very interesting the way our bodies have the ability to heal themselves.
Right.
That was my interest in functional nutrition. So I think functional nutrition, there's a lot of confusion about what functional medicine is, how does it tie in with nutrition, what does it even mean. So basically, functional medicine or functional nutrition is the West's way of describing what ancient Ayurveda has always known, that every single part of your body is connected and that everything begins in the gut.
Right. And your body is your temple.
Yeah,
right. You have to first take care of your own body.
Right. Absolutely.
And your mind also has the ability to heal your body.
Completely, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting, right? Because when you eat things like nuts and cashews, and people have all of these myths, right? Because it's conditioning, it's what society's told us. Oh, such and such thing is fattening. We forget that every single thing in nature exists for a certain role.
Right.
We as human beings tend to overconsume.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from the beauty of that natural product.
Yeah.
And everything exists for a reason. The good, the bad, the ugly, the light, the dark, everything exists for a reason. So I think that when nutrition and wellness comes from that space of acceptance, you extend that acceptance to yourself, to others, to everything around you. And then you function from a point of compassion and acceptance. And then whatever food, every morsel you eat, every thought you think, every deed you do nourishes you from within. So that is my entire goal with each and every client. It's a lot, I know, which is why coaching is something I take very seriously. It's literally a mind, body, and soul journey.
Right.
It takes what it takes. It takes time. It takes effort. You've got to meet yourself where you are. Comparison and right and wrong, and oh, I was so bad over the weekend and I'm going to get right back to it on Monday. Like those are the those are the kind of taglines we always live with.
Sure.
Right. And I think that health is a daily practice, and that thought and that philosophy has to be imbibed in each and every one of us, and it takes time, and it takes what it takes, but we give it that time, and realize.
And I've also seen that you and I have known each other since almost 2 decades now, and we're fairly fit and concerned about our own wellness.
Correct.
We eat everything, we're flexible, we have a routine and we have a discipline.
Correct.
But we're, I think, kind to ourselves and our
Yes.
bodies.
Yes.
And that's something that you said, right? You empower yourselves and not be hard on yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's so interesting where you say that. In fact, this is stuff that I want you to talk about as well. When we talk about health, we're also talking about our emotional well-being, right?
Yeah.
Because we are at the mercy of our neurochemicals. We've all starting to hear about this: the serotonin, the oxytocin, the dopamine, which drives our lives.
Yeah.
And whether we like it or we don't, we're at the mercy of these neurochemicals.
Yeah.
Now, when we are feeling good, chances are we'll make good decisions, when it comes to our
100%.
food choices or our movement for the day. The day we're having a crappy day, we probably eat crap. We probably won't work out.
Yeah.
We probably will, do the things which are, not so good for us. The smokers will go back to smoking. The drinkers will go back to alcohol. The gossip will happen. The overspending will happen. Like, those are the kind of, outlets that have been normalized by society,
Yeah.
right? And yesterday we were also talking about how both of us were saying, okay, it's we want to like relax tonight. What should we do? And we said, okay, let's do some breath work.
And we did some breath work, and we
Yeah.
did some grounding, walking on the grass.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
And I think that's fulfilling versus going and doing something that will actually harm our body in the long run.
Correct, absolutely. And science is also showing us that longevity, honestly, is governed by the strength of your relationships, right?
Absolutely.
The quality of your social connections. They don't have to be a million, but they have to be few, and sacred.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that everyone's aligning on now. In terms of nutrition and in terms of, I want to talk about nitty-gritties a little bit today with you as well, Dinika, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. We can talk about it.
You're coming from a space where, it's obviously been a family-run legacy, right? Like it's been in the family since I want to say like centuries almost, right?
Yeah.
1.5 centuries.
1.5 century, yeah.
Yeah. And that's pretty amazing. That's pretty awesome. I mean, you've been around longer than the British.
We started along with the British.
That's so interesting. And then, I want to talk about also, how it feels to be, a woman in a family-run business this way and growing it year on year.
That thought of being a woman actually never came to my mind because I was just a passionate entrepreneur who believed in my product, and I also actually needed a product to consume because I used to play
Right.
tennis and basketball. I used to have long days, and I wanted to fuel my hunger with something that's good for my body and
Right.
good for my mind.
Right.
And you mentioned something very powerful before, and you said that it's all about feeling good.
Yeah.
When you feel good, you make the right decisions.
Correct.
Now, it's whether what you put in your body,
Correct.
who you surround yourself with,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's where you are an OG and that's where I am an OG, because we are doing things completely different
Yeah.
from what the society around us is doing. For my mind, it's going to fuel me in the right way. I was passionate about just taking it forward.
Right.
And I did not think for a second that am I a girl? Am I a boy? Am I the first woman in India to get into this industry? Am I launching a D2C brand before D2C even existed in India?
Right.
Trying to package premium nuts and position them as a snack in a society that only looked at it as traditional Diwali and wedding gifting. So all these are courageous moves, and they all come from a place of self-belief. And self-belief gets strengthened when you feel good about yourself.
Correct. Absolutely.
So that actually brings me back to what you do best. You make people feel good.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's something that I saw when I moved back. I was 24 and I started to see clients in my nutrition practice. And when I would talk to them, they would say, you're such a different energy. We usually get scolded by our dietitians.
And you actually have that nurturing energy, Kajal, and I've felt that with you as well. Every time we sit and talk, I think the energy just kind of calms down.
Yeah.
I feel good. I feel nurtured.
Thank you. Yeah, I think lucky to have this, to have this within me. I think I would really just name it to like a higher power, really.
Yeah.
And I think we're really lucky to be surrounded by people who see it, who appreciate it. And one point towards that, and I want to really sell the idea of self-love, self-compassion and kindness.
Most important.
Because, in a dog-eat-dog world, it becomes so easy to become internally and externally aggressive, and we don't even realize it. But when we find ourselves doing that, which we will, it'll happen moment to moment, it'll happen day to day, we must find a way to come back to ourselves and always remember that kindness fuels our health at a physical level. Kindness is, and now there's so much, work and research that's been happening on it, that honestly an element of appreciation, of kindness really physically fuels our yogic energy. It's something that we don't actually pay any attention to because our modern urban lifestyles don't, allow us to do that.
Right.
But it is possible to be ambitious but to be kind. It is possible to be fit and stay kind. It is possible to stay firm but stay kind.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I really, really wanna, keep happening in my practice as well. I call it the positive practice for that reason, because I truly believe what you feed grows.
Yeah.
And the more you feed things with positivity, the more they grow upwards and onwards.
Sure.
And this is just the start.
It is. And you know what? I just have a thought right now on that kind note.
Yes.
I feel like we have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
We've had similar journeys. We've done similar practices, whether it's taking care of what's inside our body, it's healing ourselves, figuring out our mental health, figuring out our relationships.
Yeah. I think breaking glass ceilings.
I love that. Breaking glass ceilings. We're both the firstborn daughters.
Yeah.
And,
exactly.
firstborn daughters are always born with a particular kind of responsibility. And
Absolutely.
I think, Kajal, we should start a conversational series.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I would love that.
Yeah. I think there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And our listeners can actually benefit or just be intrigued about our own journeys as well.
Super. Yeah, I love that. I think that it takes a lot of courage sometimes to stand in your truth.
It does.
And I think that not enough recognition is, we don't even recognize ourselves enough, forget, the world doing that for us. And I don't think that's required. But I think what is required is a fresh take on the ability of one human being to shift their narrative, to shift their perspective, and how that can actually fuel and inspire.
It's reminding me of a quote from Daisaku Ikeda, and we both practice Buddhism. And he said that the human revolution in a single person can transform the world.
Correct.
And I think that the human revolution that you are doing in your own life actually has the ability to transform your life, your family's life, and the entire society around.
Thank you. That's so kind.
So I would love to know more about it and start a conversational series with you.
Super.
So
I would love that.
This let's take this as the official launch of that. And,
let's do it.
And so thank you so much for sharing, how you've been an OG in your space, how you had the courage, the kindness, and the empowerment and self-love that led you to be here.
Thank you. I think one thing I also want to say is that, when we come into, I think we've talked about a lot of things, and this is something that came up in one of our conversations as well, is that when you kind of, find a way to decide for yourself what it is that is your true calling. And of course, we're still figuring things out and we're always a work in progress. But I think as you get closer and closer to your own truth, your environment starts to design your life in such a way that it starts to help you more and more,
I agree.
And I think that when along my journey, there have been many, many people who have, in fact, pushed me more and more to challenge my professional journey more and more. My family has always been very supportive, of course, but the support has also come in through clients who have said that we only want to work with you at a time when I said, okay, right now I'm not doing a certain type of consulting, but people have been sort of really placing trust and faith. And I think post-COVID as well, there's been a lot more interest in understanding in depth, how your health works, how your body works, how one thing can tie into another, how your gut issues are actually associated with your skin issues, how your microbiome is affecting your anxiety levels, how your weight loss is not happening because your gut microbiome is out of sync. These are all questions that functional medicine addresses.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting, along with your gut being involved with your hormones. I mean, who would have thought that people are waking up to that fact and wanting to truly work from that standpoint? And I'm sure a lot of our listeners are actually going to resonate with a lot of the things that I said, and you talked about as well. So I'm very excited for our conversation series.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being the OG that you are.
Thank you.
And
thank you so much. Thank you.
We'll wrap up here on a kind note and as a launch of our conversational series where you get to hear more about functional nutrition and holistic well-being. Thank you.